Now I'd like to talk a bit about King Asoka. It is stated that the Buddhism of King Asoka is closer to early Buddhism than to sectarian Buddhism or Hinayana Buddhism. It is also stated that Asoka converted to Buddhism in the 7th year of his reign. 7 years after he became king, he became a Buddhist. But in the 8th year of his reign, he conquered a country called Kalinga. And when he conquered this country, the people fought very fiercely. So a lot of people died. And in this war, he saw a lot of suffering. Families were separated. Members of the family were separated. Sometimes the family lost a mother. Sometimes the family lost a father. And they had great difficulty to continue living to find a livelihood. So because he saw also so many people killed and disfigured, maimed and all that, so he regretted that he started this war. From that time onwards, he did not want to conduct any more wars. Then he started to practice the Buddha's teaching seriously. He believed that compassion was very important. So he kept the 8 precepts. He went to the monasteries to do his retreats and all these things. And then it stated from the 12th year until the 27th year that he became king, he made great effort to spread the Buddha's teachings. And how did he make effort to spread the Buddha's teachings? One was by erecting these stone pillars, what they are called Asokan edicts. These stone pillars, he asked the people to carve the words of the Buddha on these stone pillars, and also a lot of other things that he thought was important, his ideas about compassion and all these things. And also he sent monks, missionaries to other countries to spread the Dhamma to nearby countries, like now what we know as Pakistan, Afghanistan and all that. At that time were Buddhist countries. And then he liked to make this Dhamma Yatras. Dhamma Yatras means Dhamma tours. In these Dhamma tours, he'll go to various parts of India. And when he went to various places, he will visit monks, especially well-known or good practicing monks. He go and see monks, and then also he will do dana, either offer food and robes and all that to the monks, or do dana to poor people, help the poor people. Also, he would teach Dhamma to the masses, to the ordinary people, taught them to practice the Dhamma correctly, etc. Now, since we know that during the Empress Asoka's time, we still have the original Buddhism, we look at the stone pillars that he constructed, then we get a good idea what is original Buddhism. In the stone pillars that he constructed, it is mentioned that there are 5 Nikayas. The Buddha's teachings, at that time already, there were 5 Nikayas. One is the Digha Nikaya, another is the Majjhima Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya. The last was the Khuddaka Nikaya. Khuddaka Nikaya means the collection, the minor collection. That means those few suttas that could not fit into the Digha, Majjhima or Samyutta or Anguttara Nikaya, they were put into the Khuddaka Nikaya. So you note carefully, this is original Buddhism, the 5 Nikayas. But then in the last Khuddaka Nikaya, later monks started to add more and more books to the Khuddaka Nikaya. So from a minor collection, now it has become a major collection. A lot of books, much more than the other Nikayas. So the first 4 Nikayas, Digha, Majjhima, Samyutta and Anguttara Nikaya, can be reliably said to be the original words of the Buddha. Now, the Asoka, he taught the people to practice the Dhamma well, especially compassion and sincerity. And needless killing was prohibited. He even made laws that if animals were to be killed, pregnant animals should not be killed. And also nursing animals, those that had just given birth, those female animals which need to give milk to the young, they were not allowed to be killed. And then hospitals were built for people, and hospitals were also built for animals. The Emperor Asoka, he practiced great compassion. He cared for animals, built hospitals for them also. And then he asked the people to plant trees by the roadside, so that when people traveled on the roads, it was not so hot. And he also encouraged the planting of medicinal plants, so that people could benefit from the medicinal plants, like neem trees and all that. And then he also had wells dug to provide water for people. He also built resting places, like nowadays we have the R&R in the highway. He also had these resting places for travelers, so that they could obtain drinking water there and have a rest. And he taught people to be obedient to parents and to respect elders and to have just treatment of all peoples, no matter their caste, no matter their level, including slaves and all that. He said that we should treat them justly. And also he gave up hunting. Kings like to go hunting, but he gave up hunting. Instead, he spent his time doing this Dhamma tours, which he enjoyed a lot. Then he put a lot of effort in governing well. He wanted to make sure that he benefited the people, like a bodhisattva, benefit the people, and in as many ways as he could. And then he also appointed ministers of Dhamma to look after the Sangha affairs, to look after the Sasana. And on top of that, he also appointed ministers who were responsible for other religions, also to take care of other religions. And then he warned against further schisms of the Sangha. He warned the monks not to create more schools, and that he would defraud monks who attempted to create schism or who had wrong views. Okay. Now we come to now we talk about sectarian or Hinayana Buddhism. Now this sectarian or Hinayana Buddhism, most of its important doctrines occurred from the year 150 BCE until the year 150 CE. But then it became popular later from the 50 BCE. Only it became popular. This sectarian or Hinayana Buddhism is typified by the development of the scholastic Abhidhamma, because at that time the Sangha was very well supported. So the monks, they had a lot of time, and then many of them did a lot of studies on the Dhamma, and then they started to have new ideas about the Dhamma. This they call the Abhidhamma. The Abhidhamma, according to this book by Professor Hirakawa, is not the higher Dhamma. Abhidhamma means analysis of the Dhamma. That means they analyze the Dhamma and then they come up with new concepts. New concepts about the Dhamma that the Buddha did not teach. Even though they knew that the Buddha's words were to be found in the suttas and the Vinaya, yet they preferred to have this Abhidhamma and all that. Also, this sectarian Buddhism, Hinayana Buddhism, was more for the monks and nuns. Originally, the word Savaka means disciples of the Buddha and includes monastics as well as lay people. But in sectarian Buddhism, disciples Savakas only meant the monks and the nuns. So this sectarian Buddhism, because they started to have ideas about this Abhidhamma, all these 18 schools of sectarian Buddhism, they had their own Abhidhamma. Every school, the Abhidhamma differed from school to school because all were new ideas. For example, in the our Theravada Abhidhamma, you find new concepts like Javana, Bhavanga, Patisandhi, Chitta, Chuti Chitta, Kalapas and all this that the Buddha did not teach. This Theravada Abhidhamma, there are 7 books. You see, all these 18 schools, most of their doctrines were lost. Finally, now we have mostly only the Theravada, and they also have the Savastivadin. So, out of the 7 books, the last 3 were the Dhatu Kata, Yamaka, and Patana. And because these last 3 books were written later, so they were compiled later, they have a lot of new concepts. And then the later this sectarian Buddhism, they start to have other teachings, for example, the Pitako Padesa, the Netipaka, and later in the 5th century, that means 400 something, they started to write commentaries, interpretations of the suttas, their own ideas about the sutta, and this is called the Atthakatha. So the most famous of the commentators is a man called Buddhaghosa. This Buddhaghosa, he wrote commentaries. He was a great scholar. You see, the trouble with these scholarly monks, they don't practice enough. Instead of meditating, like the Buddha advised, to clear the mind and attain the jhana so that they can see clearly, these scholar monks, they keep studying and then having ideas, but their minds are not developed. So if their minds have not attained jhana, the Buddha said, they cannot state things as they really are. So they write commentaries, and this Buddhaghosa, he wrote commentaries on all the Nikayas and the Vinaya books, and he wrote commentaries on the Dhammapada, Sutta Nipata, and also another book called the Visuddhimagga. All these are later writings. So when all these later writings started to appear, people became more interested in these later books like the Abhidhamma and the commentaries. Instead of putting all the attention on the suttas and the Vinaya, now the attention, they are more interested in the Abhidhamma, not in the suttas. More interested in the commentaries than actually what the Buddha said and all these things. So that's the difference between original Buddhism and sectarian Buddhism. In other words, sectarian Buddhism created a lot of new books which did not exist before, and they preferred to study these books rather than the original words of the Buddha. this the Buddha already warned in the suttas. The Buddha warned in the Samyutta Nikaya, I think 20.7. The Buddha said in the future, the monks will not be interested in the original words of the Buddha. Instead, they will be interested in the words of disciples. And the Buddha said this will cause the disappearance of the true Dhamma. When the Buddha says the word of disciples, he means the words of later monks who write new books. Now, a lot of people don't know that there is one sutta in the Digha Nikaya. I think it's Digha Nikaya 29, where the Buddha gave a simile of the razor. The Buddha said in that sutta that the Buddha's teachings are utterly perfect and pure and complete. So the Buddha said there is no need to add to his words or subtract from his words. The Buddha said if a person adds to the Buddha's words, in other words, says more than what the Buddha says, the Buddha says that person does not understand the Dhamma. And if a person thinks that he can subtract some of the Buddha's words, he also does not understand the Dhamma. So what the Buddha is saying here is that we should only rely on his original words, not on later books. So it's because these later monks, they don't understand the Buddha's words. That's why they think they want to add to his words. They start a lot of new other books. All this is considered this is Hinayana books, the Abhidhamma, the commentaries, the Jataka stories, the Netipakarana, the Pedako Padesa, all these books. So that's the difference between original Buddhism and Nikaya Buddhism. Now we come to Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism, most of the books were compiled from 100 BCE to 100 CE. That means around 200 years period around the 0 CE, 100 years before and 100 years after. But then they only became popular about 10 CE, 10 years of the Common Era. Now the early Mahayana teachings, they still accept that Arahatship is the ideal of the Buddha's teachings, but they try to appeal to people to consider the Bodhisattva path. For example, one of the early books called the Mahavastu, this is what they say, that Arahatship is the ideal. But then they try to persuade people to walk the Bodhisattva path. However, later Mahayana books like the Lotus Sutra, they champion the Bodhisattva path and condemn the Arahant path. So when they do that, the Arahant path is a path of mental training and self-control that the Buddha taught that we have to discipline our mind and train ourselves to have self-control and change our character for the better, to discard unwholesome states of mind and to cultivate wholesome states of mind. But instead, this Bodhisattva path talks about paramis. This paramis was never mentioned by the Buddha in his original teachings. It is a later teaching where they speculate that the Buddha must have taken a very, very long time to become enlightened. They said that the Buddha cultivated over a period of 4 Asankhya kapas. Asankhya means countless. So when they say 4 Asankhya kapas, it means countless world cycles plus 100 Mahakapas. So in other words, what they are saying is it took the Buddha an eternity of time to become enlightened. If you think that the Buddha took an eternity to become enlightened, surely we must take more than an eternity to become enlightened, isn't it? So in other words, they are discouraging you to cultivate yourself to practice the Arahant path. So they are telling you just to practice the paramis. But then in the Buddha's teaching, there is only one path to enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path. There is no other path. And we look into the Noble Eightfold Path, nothing is mentioned about parami. So you can understand from here that these are wrong teachings because the Buddha said that his teachings are perfect and we should not add to his teachings or subtract from his teachings. Now they said here that the early Mahayanists revived the spirit of the Buddha's teachings by adapting it for a new age. However, these innovative elements brought hidden dangers with them. As time passed on, many Buddhists became more and more interested in the new edition than in the original message of the Buddha. Magical elements played an important role in Mahayana Buddhism from the beginning, probably because they were a response to the religious needs of the common people. Perfection of Wisdom Sutras contained claims that the text could protect those who followed it. According to the Lotus Sutra, faith in the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara, that means Kuan Yin, would protect a person from all disasters. Efficacy of the mantras was found in many Mahayana scriptures. Over the centuries, these magical formulas came to play an increasingly important role in Mahayana Buddhism until by the 6th century, esoteric Buddhism, that means the secret school, had emerged as a distinct movement and began to develop in India. So you see here, these Mahayana teachings were a response to what people wanted. That's why in Chinese they call them Hong Pian Pat Mui, Hong Pian Fa. So they provide what people want. People like to pray for help, so they provide them with Kuan Yin. They say, you need anything, you just call Kuan Yin will help you. But then in the Sutta, the Buddha said that what we want and is hard to get is cannot be obtained by prayers or by vows or by appealing for it. Buddha said if you can get what you want by prayers or appeals or vows, then the Buddha said, why is there so much suffering in the world? The Buddha with his psychic eye can see that ghosts are suffering, can see that animals are suffering, hell beings are suffering. Who is helping them? They are crying out every night and sometimes even the day, are crying out for help, especially like the hell beings. If there is a compassionate Bodhisattva or Buddha can help, why don't he help them? That's enough. Bring all these beings out of hell. But the Buddha says nobody can help. Our world is created by our karma, and it's also created by our mind. So the world is like a nightmare. So unless we develop our mind, we keep having nightmares. Sorry, I have all this written all over the place. Okay, so because of wrong teachings, in the last half of the 1st century CE, that means from around maybe 75 CE, images of Buddha first appeared in Gandhara place in India. Buddha statues were first created. So you look here, it's about 500 years after the Buddha passed away. The Buddha said that original Buddhism will last for 500 years. So when people practice original Buddhism, they understand the Buddha's teachings that we have to help ourselves. The Buddha said, no no man can bless another. The Buddha said, our good actions will bless us, our evil actions will curse us. So karma is very important. So because people did not understand the Buddha's teachings, Buddha's statues started to appear 500 years after the Buddha passed away. People prayed to Buddha statues and asked for help. And then in the 2nd century CE, there was a king called Kanishka. He came into power and his empire extended from Afghanistan to Central Asia over a vast piece of land. And then he liked Mahayana Buddhism, and under him, Mahayana Buddhism developed. And he convened the 4th Sangha Council, where they compiled the Mahayana books together and put them down in writing. When these Chinese monks like Xuan Zhang and Fa Xian and all that, they came to India, they found that Mahayana Buddhism was flourishing side by side with this Hinayana Buddhism. And they also reported that actually Hinayana Buddhism was more popular than Mahayana Buddhism. There were more monks, more monasteries which were Hinayana. And then as time went on, by the time of I Ching, which was around 670, the differences between Hinayana Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism was less and less, and the two traditions began to blend together. How is that? For example, like nowadays, even some Theravada monks believe in the Bodhisattva path, right? The Mahayana books talk about 6 paramis or 6 paramitas. Our Theravada books talk about 10 paramis. In other words, our Theravada books also accept the Bodhisattva path. But originally, Bodhisattva path was not the Buddha's teaching. But Theravada, these Hinayana monks, they started to accept. So that's why the differences became less and less. And then later, the esoteric Buddhism, secret school became popular and influenced the Hinayana Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism. They started also to practice more mantras and all these things. Then the true Buddhism started to disappear. Now we come to this esoteric Buddhism, secret school. This secret school, why do they call it secret school? Because some of the teachings were very different from what the Buddha taught. For example, when this monk called Nagarjuna, who is called Long Supusa in Chinese, when he started to write the Mahayana books, and he brought out these Mahayana sutras, people asked him, this he has mentioned in his biography, he said people asked him, why is it before there were no such Mahayana sutras, now you claim these are the words of the Buddha? You know what he said? He said the Buddha hid these books in the ocean, and he went down to the dragon palace and he brought up these books which were hidden by the Buddha. This we cannot accept for various reasons. Firstly, these Mahayana books always talk about Mahayana and Hinayana, Tai Seng, Asyo Seng. But during the Buddha's time, there was no Tai Seng, Syo Seng. The Sangha was one. That's the most important thing. Secondly, during the Buddha's time, there were no books. Nobody made books. So how could the Buddha have hidden away books? Thirdly, the Buddha said that his teachings are open for all to see. The true Dhamma is open for all to see. And the Buddha said if anything is secretive, then it is deviant. If it's secretive, then you have something to hide. right? That's why you find in the secret school, they have secret teachings, for example, like mantras. Mantras came from Brahmanism, Hinduism, and these mantras are very powerful words. And these powerful words, they are so powerful. I like to say in Hokkien, "Chú còn thảo是用照啦, ke còn thảo是用照啦." To do black magic, they use mantras. To counter the black magic, they also use other mantras. To keep spirits, what we call Hui Kia, to control the Hui Kia, the spirits, they also use mantras. And then on top of that, they have, for example, what is called Tantric Buddhism. Tantric Buddhism comes from Tantra Yoga, things like the Kama Sutra, where they talk about the teacher can make love to the disciple, to have sex, and they say this can lead to enlightenment. But the Buddha says that when we have sensual pleasures, it is impossible not to be attached to it. So the Buddha says sensual desires are an obstruction in the holy life. But these people, because they don't understand the Dhamma, then they teach all these things. And other things like they do a lot of rituals. And also in the secret school, they, like what is practiced in Tibetan Buddhism or Dhammaism, they go into a trance. They go into trance, just like in this what do you call it now? Mao San, the school of Taoism, which is corrupt. So all these things you find in the secret school. So according to this Professor Hirakawa, that he says one of the most influential theories in East Asia divided Buddhist history into three periods: the true Dhamma, the counterfeit Dhamma, and the end of the Dhamma. So, true Dhamma, counterfeit Dhamma, and end of the Dhamma. True Dhamma is the first 500 years period after the Buddha passed away. That is the true Dhamma. And then the counterfeit Dhamma is when Hinayana Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism started. This period is called the counterfeit Dhamma, from about 50 BCE up to 700 CE. So that means about 500 years after the Buddha's passing away, until about 1,200 years after the Buddha's passing away. So this counterfeit Dhamma, instead of relying on the Buddha's words in the suttas and the Vinaya, they are more interested in new Mahayana sutras and also in the Abhidhamma, the Janaka tales, and commentaries, and Visuddhimagga, and all these later books, which the Buddha says actually are the words of disciples, not his words. And then the end of the Dhamma is the time where the secret school started, esoteric Buddhism. That is about 700 up to 1100 CE. That means the last 300 or 400 years of Buddhism in India. It's called the end of the Dhamma because at that time they were not practicing the Dhamma anymore. They are more interested in rituals like mantras, this Tantric Buddhism, and going to trance and keeping spirits and all these things. That is not Dhamma at all. That's why even though the name Buddhism still continues, but that is the end of the Dhamma. No more Dhamma. They are not really interested in the Dhamma anymore. So here I like to summarize what is the difference between Hinayana Buddhism and original Buddhism is that Hinayana Buddhism they are interested in the later books like the Abhidhamma, commentaries, etc., which is not the Buddha's words, although they acknowledge that the original words of the Buddha are found in the suttas and the Vinaya. Then secondly, what's the difference between Mahayana Buddhism and original Buddhism is that they reject the original suttas and they follow the Mahayana Sutra.